February 4, 2026. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2002 chart using NinjaTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. I took two trades, and they're both profitable. I was having trouble logging into NinjaTrader earlier today. I got a little bit of a later start, and it said I think my password wasn't working quite right, and so I wasn't able to take any trades. And then when I finally was able to log in, I think right about 7 o'clock, it's right about when the news came out, which was the ISM Services PMI, and then there was another piece of news that came out at 5:15, which was the non-farm employment change. So it didn't affect my trade here. And then this big span coming down, I didn't really find any setups I particularly liked. There's quite a few almost trades that I marked, and then I did take one trade later in the day. So I'm gonna get into setups right now. I think I also looked at Down Detector or website like Down Detector. I forgot what it was called, and it said like NinjaTrader was having some issues. So I'm not really sure if that affected it or not, or if that was the effect or not. But it was able to log in a little bit later, as I said. So the pre-market, it looks like it was a two legs up, also just one big leg up, pull back, another leg up. And I thought there was some kind of support here. I did see, well, after the fact, that there was a possible trade here. Creates a high of day, also localized high, creates a first entry long pullback, second entry long failure, also a new low, first entry short pullback, second entry short. This is a pretty nice setup. Fortunately, it didn't happen when I was around. So it's a nice that it's a break of the green down channel, push down, and it's the second attempt down. It's already two legs up. Break of this orange up channel has tested the highs. So I think this is a pretty decent setup. Then prices move all the way back down to here, creates a first entry short pullback, second entry short. It gives you a a lower high right here. I thought this was a possible trade. It looks like it was two small legs up or just one big leg up, but two small legs up. I do have this yellow down channel kind of established, so it was really early though. And it is confirming potential rejection off this one touch, two touch, three touch, fourth touch area yellow down channel with a decent signal bar. I didn't really like it though because it's too early in the day. Plus, I really had some issues right around here. So I wasn't even able to see this real time. This is more when I was able to log in right about here. I went back and looked at these and marked it, but it was too late for me to even try to even take these trades. But this one, I doubt I would have taken anyways, because as I said, it's right at the first minute of the open. Then it creates a new low. It's a first entry short pullback, second entry short. This is also a decent setup. So first break of this this yellow down channel. There's a break here, but this is a more decisive break. Break of this green up channel has tested the high, so it's a nice setup. EMA may not really be that important right now because it's starting to move sideways. Creates a localized high. It's a first entry long pullback, second entry long. I thought this would have been an almost trade because it's a nice signal bar. It's just bouncing off the EMA though, and it might or may not be trying to move back into this range. But with such a strong push up, I would think it's going to try to test the highs of this orange up channel. This is the first attempt, and this could potentially be the second attempt. Then prices continue moving. It starts chopping sideways. I actually have this range a little bit tighter. Now, when I say a little bit tighter and tighter range right here, I wasn't actually doing this in real time. When I was able to start trading, this is when I went back and looked at it and tried to simulate or imagine if I was trading this in real time, I would have drawn things just to try to see if I would have seen setups in real time as they happened. Anyways, it kind of came into this range. It broke out, became first entry short, pullback, second entry short. I thought this was a failed breakout, second entry short potential right here. Signal bar is this one, but this follow through trigger bar is pretty nice. So you're thinking a break of this trading range is going to have prices move back in. So then it comes down, pushes up, flushes down. This is right about when the news occurs. And shortly after, about right here, is when I was able to log on. So break this green down channel, test the low, pushes up on this orange up channel, test the high. So potential failed second entry short here because the visual first entry short. Didn't mean to move that. Second entry short failure. And then prices move up. I drew this yellow up channel, and this actually sets up for my first trade. Now, this signal bar has since changed because I did a data reload, so this looks terrible now in hindsight, but in real time, this is what I saw. As I said, the signal bar was a little bit different. It was more bullish, and it wasn't an inside bar. But I'm going to go off of what I remembered. Unfortunately, I didn't have it recorded. So it's a localized high and swing high here. It's a first entry long pullback, second entry long. I like this setup because I did have this drawn as a support. It's like a first attempt, second attempt, third attempt. So it's a triple test. And then it looks like it's 2 legs down. So second entry long, first break of this yellow up channel. And it looks like it wants to move back in. Technically, already tested here and moved back in, but this could be a second attempt. And I mainly like that it was a triple test here, and I had it close above the EMA. My chart's slightly different now, so this looks like a terrible trade. And then if I did see this as this in real time, I wouldn't have taken this trade. But I entered, hard to see, but it was 1 tick above whatever used to be here. Pushes up and got my scalp. Then prices continue chopping sideways. Then it starts pushing to the high side. It's a localized low, first entry short, pullback, second entry short. And just going forward, there were a lot of second entry shorts that set up. The signal bars were, a lot of them kind of prevented me from wanting to take the trade or leave it mark it as a setup. Break of this orange up channel, test the high, pushes sideways, then test the high again. So now it's a localized high. It's a first entry long pullback, second entry long failure. But there's no real setup here. Pushes down to the low side. It's a new low. It's a first entry short, pullback, second entry short. I actually thought this is another possible trade. It is a, excuse me, second entry short here. It's a rejection off the EMA. It looks like it's moving down this green down channel, so it could push down. There's enough room to the low. Excuse me. And it's a decent signal bar. The prices move down. This has since been tweaked. I've been having some interesting issues with, I think, NinjaTrader, because I think I had a trouble, or I didn't have any data on Tradeovate a couple days ago. And it was also, I'm just wondering if there's some kind of larger issue going on. So I also noticed that when I did data reload, well, as I said, this setup doesn't look like this anymore. And there were some other setups here that look like they've kind of been tweaked since then. So it moves up this orange up channel break, test the high, gives you a lower high here, mislabeled, lower high. And it looks like a visual new low, first entry short pullback, second entry short, also second entry short in the technical count. Unfortunately, this lower high doesn't have a good signal bar, kind of rallies back up before the close, so I didn't really like that. Pushes down, and it gets very choppy. I tried to establish this as a channel, but it didn't quite fit well, and it looks like it's almost like a range with a slightly bearish bias. So no clean setups that I particularly like. There is a localized low here. It's a first entry short pullback, second entry short. It's a bad signal bar. EMA, it's ambiguous if the EMA is helpful or not, because as you look to the left, prices are just kind of moving above and below the EMA, and it's overall just kind of a choppy sequence. It's very noisy. There is a triple test here, but I didn't like the signal bar, so again, I left it low. Finally, it breaks through on this clear, decisive move down on this orange down channel. Break, test the low, pushes up, makes another test of the low, then it pushes up, which I thought might have been a channel here, but it breaks out to the high side and it kind of moves sideways. So this whole area left me a little confused of what's exactly going on, because when you see this in real time and you look to the left, is it selling off? Not really. It was selling off at one point, but then is it coming back? I'm not really sure. And drawing a larger channel at this point doesn't really help, because look how wide this thing is. And there's not very clean bounces here, not really clean confirmations here. Only one confirmation at the low side. So all I could tell is it is making global lower highs. It may be finding a support, but it's just really noisy, especially when you see these strange knee-jerk reactions. And this is clearly out of the news area, because the news area was around 7 o'clock. So it pushes down on this green down channel, break, test the low. Maybe there's a support here. I'm not really sure. Just being extra cautious. Localized low. It's first entry short pullback, second entry short. It's a nice second entry short, except it's far from the EMA. Again, I'm not really sure what the bias is. And then when it closes back, technically giving you a failed second entry short, it doesn't have a good confirmation. So it could still push its way down. When you finally get this guy, now whatever trade I thought I wanted to take or maybe was setting up isn't there anymore. So it's just sitting on hands, pushes up, hits the high side. At this point, I do establish this red trend line, and it wasn't really a channel yet because I can't really trust it. So I'm going to collapse it. Just say it's collapsed to here. Prices move down in this green down channel. It gets really noisy, and every so often, I'm not sure if there was news being released or something was being said, but there was these quick knee-jerk reactions. You get these big candles here, get this another big candle here, get these big red and green candles that just kind of pop up at random. So it made me extra cautious. Prices move down on this green down channel, even though it had a break here. Pushes, it broke out of this green down channel, starts pushing back up. You could disregard this red down channel because it doesn't help anymore. It's something I had that I thought might have been developing. Which is up, is a localized low. First entry short, second entry short, it's bad setup. No, not a good signal bar. Break of this orange up channel, test the high, but now it's moving side by side because these candles are relatively the same size, but they're opposites. It's almost like creating piano keys. Again, you almost get like piano keys right here. I'm not really sure. The prices continue moving down. Localized lows. You have a first entry short, and it kind of continues back down. Now, no clean setups. As I said, you can find second entries, but they're contextually hard to really place on what's really going on, other than you know for sure, okay, there's kind of a bearish bias, but the bearish bias, they're not setting up nicely. It was right here that I think I dragged this down to here, something like this, thinking it's going to be some kind of bigger channel. But as you can see, I never colored it in because it doesn't really quite add much value. You could clearly tell it's selling off, creating lower highs every time. But can you trust this as a key entry point? Not really. And I don't really trust the high side yet either. Pushes down on this green down channel, breaks to the low side, hits this consolidation area. Technically, you have a new low, first entry short. You could argue for a second entry short, but I did a count reset. So if you did do a second entry short here, you could potentially have a trade, but it doesn't. All you have is the strength of this EMA, and maybe you have a small break of range, but the break is pretty much the size of the range. So that just leaves me extra cautious. When I see this, I'm looking for a lower high. Get a lower high here, but I run into the issue of, is it going to get hit some kind of support here? The prices continue moving down, then it starts fleshing back up. Again, you get these big candles, big relatively speaking for the day. Localized low, first entry short, second entry short, or we could say account reset, first entry short, second entry short, bad signal bar. You don't really get a clean lower high, nothing that you can really trust. A lot of it's just sitting and waiting. Break, test the low, pushes up, first entry long, creates another swing high. So first entry long pullback. Technically a second entry long here, but it looks like first entry, second entry, not a clean setup, looking for a higher low. You don't really get a higher low. So you just kind of abandon the idea of trying to take a long right now when it pushes up like this. Creates a triple test here. Unfortunately, this isn't a good signal bar, but I marked it because I was wondering about it until it rallied up near the close. Hits this area, which I think might have been a support. And I was thinking, is there a range developing? But even then, the range, it's a little strange that it starts, like if the range was something along these lines, it's starting rather late to establish the high side. The low side isn't consistent because, as you can see, you have a failed breakout early on without even really confirming the support side. So then if you try to drag it up, then it looks strange because then you have these failed breakouts here. So I knew it was chopping sideways, but I couldn't establish a clean range to trust for key entry points and to try to apply range rules. Then prices push down, like these big candles. Again, I'm not really sure why I did that. First entry short, technically have a second entry short here. It's not a good signal bar, leaving it alone. You hit this established kind of support area, but even the support is very choppy because there's these ticks that push through it. So it's creating higher lows, but then it comes back and creates lower lows. Pushes up in this orange up channel. It confirms this channel, one touch, two touch, three touch, kind of a fourth touch, but it's a failed breakout. So I was thinking, is there a key entry point here? you might have a second entry short here, like a localized low. First entry short, pullback, second entry short. It's not a good signal bar. I didn't trust it. I want a lower high. You get a lower high here, but now I also don't trust this lower high because it just doesn't look like a clean lower high with it. It's a little more neutral for my liking, excuse me. Pushes down, creates a localized first entry long, pullback, second entry long. You got a higher low, but this support area wasn't established until way over here. So it left me a little confused. I just didn't really trust it. It creates a new low, first entry short pullback, second entry short. But also, if you did it visual, it looks like a first entry, second entry short failure, and a higher low. So it does have potentially two key entry points. But to be honest, it's a break of this red down channel has tested the low. Is it going to make two legs back up? I honestly wasn't sure. So even though this is a higher low and potential failed second entry short, I felt like there wasn't enough information or enough to convince me that I was reading the chart correctly. So I called it almost trade. Prices move up to the high side, break of the green channel, test the low again, and you can see each subsequent candle is getting bigger and bigger. So this is kind of widening out. It's getting very volatile. Not only that, these candles have full bodies, so that makes me extra cautious. But this is a green down channel break, tests the low, hits the support now, and starts reversing. So it starts reversing. My first concern when I was watching this in real time was, am I going to hit some kind of resistance here? When it blasts right through, then I thought, okay, there's potential fail breakout. Pushes back down, and I'm thinking, am I in a range, kind of an ugly range that hasn't fully developed yet? You can say it's localized high, first entry long pullback. Technically, you have a second entry long, but it's a bad signal bar, bad follow through trigger bar. Then do you have a failure? You don't really quite get a failure till about right here. And even then, it doesn't look very clean. It could be moving back into this range, but I'm not really sure. When it starts moving down, I do draw this green down channel, but shows up quite late because I pretty much had to wait till about right here. Then I drew it as a green solid colored green down channel, but this also looks like two legs down. So by then, it doesn't really help for me looking for a setup. So it starts reversing. I was thinking, am I in another channel going up? So I had one touch, two touch, three touch. So I thought this is looking very promising. And I was at one touch, two touch. So I was thinking I'm in a range, not in a range. I'm in a channel moving up here. So it starts moving sideways. It breaks out, potential fail breakout. You have a localized high, first entry long pullback, second entry long. So this second entry long, it's a bounce off the EMA. And prices look like it might be potentially bouncing off the high side of this range, if this range is even valid. It's a decent signal bar. I thought there might have been a trade here, but it feels a little aggressive. So I was looking for kind of a confirmation high or low, but it doesn't really show up. Kind of pushes up. Hits this sideways consolidation, another localized high, first entry long pullback. Second entry long is a terrible signal bar. Second entry long is also, the signal bar is the inside bar, inside to this guy. So it's kind of also floating out in the middle of nowhere. So it pushes up. I established this yellow up channel, which kind of fits pretty well. Since moved. There's a small break, but I thought it's still within this channel. It's a localized high. It's a first entry long pullback, second entry long. Second entry long, I actually thought this was a possible trade because although it could be in this red down channel, I saw this as the first break of this yellow up channel, so prices want to move back in. I also saw it, before I drew it like this, I saw it as one leg down, pullback, second leg. EMA is holding, decent signal bar, good enough for a 1 point scalp. So it pushes up and actually sets up for my second trade. Now, the second trade, I think in hindsight, it probably maybe was a little more aggressive because you have a first entry long, like a first entry long pullback, second entry long pushes up, comes back down. It bounces off the EMA. I do have this established as a potential range at the moment. So I'm thinking, is this a range? So support here. I debated whether it's actually lower slightly here, but you get a little bit more confirmation here. So I treated this as potential second entry long, potential fail breakout. Bounce off of this. I like that this signal bar was engulfing. I thought this higher low has enough momentum to push back in. Granted, the break of this yellow up channel has tested the high. I thought it could be making a second attempt. So I actually entered one tick above, and I was able to flush through. I went for 6 ticks on this one, and I tried to go for a runner, but then a runner got stopped out 1 point above my entry. So it starts moving sideways, breaks to the low side. I was wondering if it was going to come back down and test this, in which case maybe the range was actually going to be slightly lower here. So I was thinking, is this coming back down? But I still had it higher up here because it looked like there was more confirmations. Creates a localized low. First entry short pullback, second entry short's bad signal bar. Was not ready and thinking of taking a trade here. Pushes down. First entry short pullback, second entry short's bad signal bar. Pushes back into what I think might have been the range, but then low side of the range is debatable because if it fits down here, looks like it kind of picks up some things. Then you only have one breakout here. Of course, then it makes this trade here a little more risky. But of course, in real time, I wouldn't have drawn it down here. So this is kind of neither here nor there because this is after the fact. Looks like it's two legs up, localized high. It's a first entry long pullback. You technically have a second entry long. EMA isn't super reliable in my opinion. It's kind of moving sideways. It is showing some bullish and bearish tendencies, but it's still what I consider kind of sideways. So it's not really a valid key entry point. And that kind of pushes up to here and it sells off into the close. So it was kind of a strange, very whipsaw day. Added to the fact that I had trouble logging on previously. And then when I did a data reload, some of the setups and candles kind of adjusted. So I'm kind of grateful that I did escape with just two trades and two profitable trades. But yeah, it was kind of a strange day. And this is the second time that I've had an issue with either NinjaTrader or Tradeovate. So just have to be extra careful tomorrow and going into Friday. I'm hoping we get similar price action. That's at least prices are moving because this is a welcome change to what was happening the previous, I think, 2 to 3 weeks where things were just slow grinding and it took forever for setups to happen. Today, by no means, I think was a really great day, but it was at least an improvement because you could actually hunt for things as opposed to waiting and watching the paint dry. So hopefully that was helpful.